on the ground. I'm not coming down. I want to go higher, higher, higher than that.
Welcome back to the Business is Human podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca Fleetwood Hession, and we're here to bring you episodes that blend meaningful work with profitable success. Here to steward what I call the age of humanity. I believe if we transform the way we work, we can transform the way that we live. As always, my friendly request, if you like what you hear, hit subscribe so you don't miss any episode, and leave a review to tell the other humans that they might like it too. Always looking to help you and connect with others. All right, let's get into it, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the year again. The 7th annual Stand Tall in Your Story event is March 12th at the Indiana River Ballroom. It's an evening event, and you can check out all the information at RebeccaFleetwoodHession.com and go to the Stand Tall tab. In a world that is increasingly more artificial, this event continues to grow and expand because it's so human. This year, 8 leaders from the Indianapolis community will take the stage for their TEDx-like talk about their real life. And this event has grown 600% in the last 7 years. Year 1, I was just hoping somebody'd show up. And now here we are setting tables and believing that 500 people are going to be there. So get your ticket. Get it now before they're sold out. Welcome back to the show. As I'm recording this in the month of February, I feel like that in and of itself needs some celebration that we made it through January. Listen, I love winter. I know that's not a popular opinion, but it just is what it is. I love the quieting calm that comes after a big snow, that actually scientifically is a quieting of the earth and the world. And watching snow fall is a regulating activity. I love the fuzzy blankets. I love my fireplace on. I love the nesting aspect of it. It's a very calming for our nervous system, for me. But even I, a lover of all things winter, got to a point a couple of weeks ago where I was not well, y'all. What got me was not the snow. I love the snow. I love being out in the snow. But the temperatures where I live in Indiana were too cold to even take the dogs out for a walk. And when I don't get nature and fresh air and movement out, the treadmill just doesn't cut it. When I don't get those things, and especially when I don't get those things multiple days in a row, it got a little dicey. The dogs were picking on each other because they were not doing well. It was something. I texted my daughter and I said, I need you to pray for me. Like, I'm not doing well. She responded, Mom, no one is thriving right now. You're going to be fine. And you know what? That was the exact message that I needed because it was true. She woke me up to the reality of we got to do what we got to do to get through it. And I just instantly felt better knowing that I wasn't the only one that was probably feeling that way. So, yay, we did it. We made it through January 2026. And the fact that we were in it together, as my daughter reminded me, is a bit of the message for today's episode. Because let's just face it, the world is louder. It is more reactive. There's more chaos. There's more destruction. There's more artificialness in every aspect. And all of those things are a real drain on us and our nervous system. And so I want to talk about what it means to remain in unity, because we are living in a world that chaos is going to be accelerated. The Bible says it's going to get rough before Jesus comes. And so in the midst of this chaos, it can create a lot of division. It can put us in a state of disconnect versus unity. And so I want to talk about what it means to live with this tension that is going to be increasing. And when we get to that point of sometimes fear and frustration, that's part of the human experience. And so I don't think anyone needs convinced when I'm saying that things are off. But what I don't want to happen is as things increasingly get more challenging in the world, that we respond with more tension and that our conversations get tighter. People are more quick to react and respond to each other in ways that create more division. That's what I don't want. And so we all have opinions. We all have a very unique story. We're all unique down to our fingerprints on purpose for a purpose. And when things are chaotic, it triggers our opinions, it triggers things in us. And sometimes when we feel that really unsafe, when we feel like we're in a chaos, the nervous system moves us into a protective state. And sometimes when we get put into that protective state, it creates in us this feeling that we need to control more things. We need to find what's the answer to this, which can trigger shame and blame. It can trigger pride, and it triggers all the things that the consequence of them are disconnection. And so the devil's greatest tactic is to get us divided over something, everything. There is a lot of things in the world today that we could be divided over. There's a lot of things that we have opinions about, differing opinions about. And if we get disconnected, everything gets harder because the world is full of fake everything. You go online and you're like, is that even real? Is that picture even real? I saw a thing the other day where it was a high-end fashion magazine was now using AI pictures of people instead of real photos. I mean, I know I scroll through social media and instead of just like engaging with things, I'm questioning, is that real or not? And so the byproduct of us moving through this chaotic world in this protective state, am I okay? Is that even real? It starts to divide us. And that's the devil's favorite thing is if we can be fighting one another, it makes his job so much easier. And so now more than ever, being connected to truth versus lies and counterfeits is going to get increasingly more important. And the only truth I know is the truth of the God who created us, because everything else can be counterfeited, it can be manipulated, and that's what's going on big time in the world today. So when we disconnect from that source of truth, we start feeding on the fear, and fear will always turn people against each other. So when I hit record today, I knew that I wanted to talk about unity. I've been struggling with the right kind of content for the show lately because everything feels really loud, and I don't want to be just another voice screaming into the void. And so I always go to prayer and say, Lord, what do you want me to talk about? And what do you want me to know about things today? And more, he just keeps taking me to messages of unity. We need unity. Stay close to me so you can stay close to one another. But what I know is true for me and the people that I'm working with and engaging with is the more that we stay in a regulated state and a grounded state, the better we can stay connected. And the more that we can stay connected to God and prayer and what He says is good and true, the safer I feel. Because I don't have any expertise, I don't have any means to fix or control so much of what's going on around me today in the world. And it reminds me that we weren't designed to be led by what's going on in the world. We were designed to stay connected to Him and to one another with what's going on in the world. So, my sense of stability, our human sense of stability, doesn't come from certainty. It doesn't come from, well, I know what's coming next. I absolutely know that tomorrow's going to be this and next week's going to be that. That's an impossibility. And so my stability comes from knowing that God's got this, no matter how chaotic it looks here. And by staying really regulated and connected to friends and family and clients where we can have meaningful discussions that don't create division, because the world's going to continue to be shook up. But that doesn't mean that we have to. So the more shook up it gets out there, the more grounded, regulated, and stable we need to be. And I want to be really clear about this, because stillness and regulation isn't disengaging from the reality of what's going on around us. It's alignment with the source of truth that is the creator of the universe. That's the only place when things are chaotic everywhere around me that I feel truly safe. And so when I go to a place of stillness and prayer, I believe that has more power than me shouting out something on social media about my opinions. The most influential people in chaotic times aren't the loudest. They're the most anchored. They're the most grounded. They're the most regulated and sure. And so I'm trying to be that. There's been criticism of people that have gone to stillness and grounded and regulation, that it's passive or I must just be too comfortable. But that's not at all. In fact, I believe wholeheartedly that my prayerful stillness is far more powerful in the world than anything else that I could do. And so it's just got me in this really reflective state of, how are my unique gifts and talents best served right now if unity is the goal? And I think this question for me has become more and more profound, because business and the self-help world that I've lived in for a long, long time, and business success world has really been about, my unique gifts and talents and my authenticity and knowing who we are. And yes, that's important, but it's not to serve pride and ego. It's to serve one another. And so the reason that we spend time knowing who we are is knowing how we can help and knowing who needs our help. So as I've been thinking about this podcast and my place in the world, maybe it's because I got a big birthday coming up in a couple months and I'm more reflective this year, but I think there's this call to our uniqueness, our gifts, and our talents can't be used to divide and separate. They have to be used to connect. And I'm just really reflective and asking God, where do you want me to serve in this next chapter of my life? And so it got me wondering if maybe that's a reflective question for you as well, because our differences are by design, but how are we going to use them for unity? And a lot of times I think that we get in a prideful place, not on purpose. It comes more often from fear and insecurity and wanting to be seen. What we're really called for is the humility to be seen for our service, to be seen for the help that we provide. Everybody always quotes Mr. Rogers here, look for the helpers, but nothing could be more profoundly true, because when our gifts and talents are just used to create a bigger brand for ourselves, that's not really going to give us a sense of satisfaction. It's going to trigger more pride. And I'm not saying don't build a website and build a brand. I have those things, but I want to make sure that I'm using them to make a difference for someone. I think from a business standpoint, I see this play out even inside companies when talent inside organizations becomes competitive instead of collaborative. And then teams fracture because so and so is going for this job and this other department, and you see what was meant to be, how can we all get better and improve so we can serve our clients, kind of turn inward, and cultures suffer when people are in competition with one another inside an organization. Cultures thrive when people know how their role matters and that people are working together and yeah, elevate, but let's do it in a way that is not competition. So our nervous system is always looking for, am I safe? And if you think you're in competition with somebody inside your organization, you're going to have a really hard time serving that customer because you're worried about what's happening to your role inside the organization. So finding a place of humility and peace in the midst of whether the chaos is inside your organization or it's what's happening in the world today. And those are all impacting each other. So the more the noise is greater in politics and in what's happening around the world, then our nervous system gets activated from all of that. And we bring that inside our organizations, and one impacts the other. And so the only response that's going to give us any solace in this is finding those regulating things for us. I know I took a break from social media for several weeks in January. It was part of a first of the year. I do a fast and a reset and just get my mind right for the year. And boy, was I glad that I did, because it allowed me to hear the Holy Spirit, to be able to hear what I needed to hear from the true source of truth and not letting what's happening around me keep me really dysregulated. Because when you're dysregulated, first thing you lose is connection. You lose connection in your prayer life and you lose connection to each other. So I guess the big idea, if there is one for today, is staying connected when everything around us is chaos takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of intention and peace. Finding peace in the midst of the chaos is not passive. It takes a lot of great intention. It's almost easier just to be another voice shouting into what's going on. But regulation is what is required in leadership. And so being able to listen when others are escalated and not needing to jump in and actively participate, refusing to reduce people to labels. Well, their opinion means we're going to label them like this, and this other opinion means we're going to label them like that. And the more we start to see others, especially those with differing opinions, with a label, whichever label you want to put on it, that is the start of division. And so if you are feeling that and sensing that in your own mind, in your own thoughts, that's a call to really pause and spend some time in regulation to take that down, because that's just a response to feeling overstimulated and dysregulated. That's the voice of division. That's the voice of, oh, they're like this and they're like that. And the world doesn't need more people trying to prove that they're right. It needs more people that are staying grounded enough to stay human and help others feel safe in the midst of it all. So, a couple of reflection questions that I jotted down that I hope are helpful to you is, where am I most tempted to react instead of remaining connected? What are the situations that I find myself in where that's my immediate pattern? is a really good reflective one. And then once you've identified it, then looking at the situation to say, are my gifts and talents helpful here? Or is this a place that I need to stay regulated and calm and I don't really need participation? I need prayer. I need stillness. So we can't really have good discernment until we have regulation. Another reflection question I have is, what conversations leave my body really tense? And what might that be telling me? Because your nervous system is like cat's whiskers. It's scanning all the time. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? And if there's certain conversations that really tense you up, just reflect on that. What is this saying to me? And again, how can my gifts and talents serve to unify versus self-protect or divide? Because the more that we can individually ask ourselves these questions, what can I do to create more unity? That's going to make a difference within our little part of the world. So before you respond, before you put your voice into something, just ask, am I creating more connection or is this going to create more division? And just notice when your language starts to be divisive in some way. Like I said, I'm still figuring out what God wants from me with this show this year. And I wrote in my journal, it was January 30th. It was in the evening and I was just feeling some kind of way. So I did what I tell my clients to do. I grabbed my journal and I prayed and I just started letting thoughts hit the page. And I am one to always ask the Lord, do you still want me to be doing this kind of work? Is there someplace else that you want me to serve? I don't want to just assume that I'm just supposed to keep doing what I'm doing. And so I wrote down, do you still want me to do this podcast? Dear Lord, do you still want me to do this podcast? And if so, what do you want me to talk about? A couple of hours or less later, a friend texted me an episode of this podcast. It's going to make me emotional. And she said, I was just, kind of feeling out of whack. And I thought to myself, I wonder what Rebecca's got to say about it. And I went and looked for your podcast. So this episode really has helped me tonight. And listen, y'all, when the Lord answers your prayers quickly like that, it will leave you feeling more safe than anything else that I've found. And I've tried a lot of different things. And so he said, yeah, I want you to keep hitting record, Rebecca. And I'm just going to keep asking him what he wants me to talk about. I know the book that I'm writing now, I'll be able to talk more about that in coming months. I'm about, 14 chapters in right now, and it's still unfolding each week. And so I've hesitated to talk about much of that until I have it kind of all laid out and know what he wants from me in this. So I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of what's in there with you, but I'm also being very prayerful about when and how that I do that. I know in the early stages of writing, the sense that I got in my prayers was sometimes you have ideas and things that you're working on that need to be more like the baby in your belly. They need to be more protected. They need to be incubated. They need to be safe before they come out into the world. And so a lot of this book content has been like a baby in my belly for the last several months that I've been writing, just letting the Lord show me more about what he wants it to be someday, soon. It'll be ready for the world, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to keep asking him each week, what do you want me to talk about? And trust that he will bring me something that is helpful. If there's topics and things that you're struggling with and want me to consider that we talk about, message me. Rebecca at wethrive.live. Would love to hear from you and what topics would be helpful to you or any feedback that you have. You're always welcome to share. All right. I hope you have your ticket for Stand Tall in Your Story, March 12th. Right now, we still have tables available. Hopefully, by the time of this broadcast, there's individual tickets still available. So, RebeccaFleetwoodHession.com, and then go to the Stand Tall tab, and you can get all the info there. All right. Love you, mean it.
I'm not coming down. I never liked it on the ground. I'm not coming down.
Thanks for being here. You can follow us on Instagram, Business is Human, or TikTok, Rebecca Fleetwood Hession. It's a great way to share some of the clips with your colleagues and friends. All right. Make it a great day. Love you, mean it.